Thanks for joining us. My name is Nick Yankee. I'm coming to you from PXG headquarters in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've got a fun event for you guys today, and I'm excited to introduce some guests to you in a moment. Like I said, my name is Nick. I'm the VP of Sales for PXG. I'm a fitter. I'm a golf nerd, and for today, I'm your MC as we have a fun experience with one of our top fitters, Dustin, who you're going to hear from shortly, and Terry McLauren, a wide receiver for Washington football team and a golf rookie. Really pumped that he joined us today, and we're going to have a fun experience. Couple things you're going to note in here. This is the first time that Terry has been fit for golf equipment, which makes him a really good sport, and we're loving having him here. Like I said, he's new to golf. You're going to see some good shots, you're going to see some average shots, but you're going to see a really good conversation as we teach about fitting and how a beginner can get fit and the benefits of going through that. You're also going to have an opportunity to hear it as it happens. So you're going to hear the conversation between Terry and Dustin and myself chiming in on the thoughts as we're going through it. And we do encourage any questions you may have. We'll drop those in as we're working through it, and we want to hear from you as well. So thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate to have you and excited to work through this today. And we'll kick it over to Dustin and Terry in the Bay and let them get rolling.
All right. Well, Terry, I'm Dustin.
Dustin, nice to meet you.
Man.
Pleasure to meet you, man.
Very, very happy to have you in here.
Appreciate you guys.
First time you're getting fit. So, any questions you have, anything like that, in terms of where you're playing the ball, in terms of the weight of the club, anything at all, don't hesitate to ask.
Okay.
So I'm just going to have you get warmed up with this guy. So anything we see in terms of adjustments to the club,
okay,
we're going to make a lot of different adjustments to kind of fine tune your game. So yeah, if you can go ahead and hit a few, and, kind of get loose there. And
now everybody's probably wondering, how's this golf swing look? It's getting there. It's a work in progress. What you got on that one? What you think about that one?
So that one there, kind of like we talked about before we started rolling here, kind of came up a little bit on that one, just trying to get a little bit more down on it.
Okay.
Get that ball up in the air.
Sweet. This is all new for me, but
yeah,
I kind of got the golf bug already, so it's...
No doubt. Well, the biggest thing is, getting clubs that are right for you.
Right.
That way, when you are learning, you kind of have a club that you can trust.
Right.
It's not like, hey, I got these as hand-me-downs.
Right.
Right. Because you can make the game a lot harder by having the wrong equipment.
For sure.
Something that's the right length, the right weight.
Yeah.
You can go out there and trust it. It's going to be even more fun for
you. And that's the biggest thing. Like, you got to make sure you got to have the equipment that fits your game and your play style. That's kind of the same way I am with my football cleats or my gloves.
Exactly.
You have to feel good to play good and feel confident about your game. So.
Yep. And the biggest thing we're trying to make, because this is a tough game. You've already probably experienced how tough it can be. So we're just trying to make the game easier for you. And that's what we always talk about. We're not trying to make the game harder. We're trying to make it easier.
Ball in the center, right on the irons.
That looks good.
How's my stance?
Great.
Cool.
So this is our Gen 4 player's head. So we kind of have 3 different head models. So we have, kind of depending on what that person's looking for. So, like a tour player, obviously they're going to be able to hit the sweet spot very, very often. So they can use a little bit smaller head because they like to shot shape. They like to hit a little draw here, a little fade here. For someone that's just kind of starting out, obviously, the sweet spot is going to be better. So let me actually kind of swap you out here. So we have, like I said, 3 different head models. We have that tour head, going to be closer to a blade with, what our tour guys and girls are playing.
Right.
This is our player's head, kind of fits right in the middle. So it's definitely a little bit more forgiving than that tour head, but we even have kind of one step further than that, which is our XP, Extreme Performance. So that's going to give you biggest sweet spot. Your good shots are going to be good, but even better, your miss hits are going to be good.
Gotcha.
That's what we always say. It's a game of misses.
Right.
So you're going to have some good shots, but you're also going to have some bad ones.
For sure.
If you can make your bad ones better, you're going to have more fun.
I like that. Cool. Now, as my game progresses and I get better, do you suggest that people start changing their heads a little bit, or how does that work?
So basically, the club heads that we make, because we get a lot of people in here that are in the same boat as you. Like, hey, I'm looking to get a set of clubs, but I want them to kind of last me a long time. So that's kind of something that we have in the back of our minds as well, is, hey, we want these clubs to work for you now, but we also want them to work for you in the future.
Right.
So in terms of the head, there's probably going to be no reason for you to switch the head.
Okay.
In terms of the shaft, also, your swing speed might go up a little bit, and that's kind of what obviously you're an athletic guy. Once you start learning to swing a little more, you're probably going to develop a little more speed. So that's kind of, again, in the back of our mind to kind of forecast where we think you'll be in the future, but as well as what you're doing now.
Cool.
So definitely a good question there. Let me grab a little different wrench. This is our XP. It's going to look fairly similar to you in terms of just the head shape.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just a little bit longer and a little bit more offset there. So those two things, kind of again going back to making the game easier for you. You know, if you think about a baseball bat. You know, if the sweet spot's really small, it's going to be tough to hit a good one. But if the sweet spot's bigger, it's going to be easier. So kind of a bigger sweet spot here.
All right. Hopefully, I can get one off the ground now.
Yep.
Good, got ground contact right there.
Yep, that's right what you want to hear, that little swoosh of the grass.
Now, do I want to kind of have this ball like centered or?
Yeah.
How does that, how am I trying to contact this?
You want to line it up, you know, right in the center of the club, because if you know, some people line it on the toe, some people line it on the heel. You definitely want to train your mind to, you know, hit it in the sweet spot. So if you're lining up every single time in the sweet spot, that's what you want to do. And as well as some people, you know, close the face, some people kind of open the face. You want to let it set nice and flush so your club face is facing your target. If that makes sense.
Cool. Feel like I need to get a little under it a little bit more.
Yeah. And actually, let me give you a graphite shaft here. So before we obviously started this, the shaft is a little bit different in that in the other club you were trying. So I'm going to try a graphite here, which will be a little bit lighter in the profile of this shaft here. Trying to get the ball up in the air a little bit easier. So, you know, we have shafts that are built for people that hit it super high and are trying to bring the ball flight low. We have shafts that are the opposite. So for you, obviously, right now we're just trying to get the ball up in the air. So I'm going to give you something that's should help, you know, make that job a little bit easier for you.
You could tell all that just by the way I'm swinging and contacting the ball.
Yep, for sure. And then, you know, sometimes we just got to, you know, try some different stuff out because, you know, what might work for me might not work for you.
Right.
And that's why we, you know, kind of see, you know, what's going to feel good to you. And I'm actually going to, you know, switch some head weight for us too to kind of give you, you know,
this one definitely feels a lot lighter.
Yeah, right. And that's one thing. You know,
feels a lot lighter.
You know, I'm not going to know a difference, but right off the bat, you can feel how much lighter that is. And it's only 15 grams. And when you think in grams, you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to feel that.
Right.
You can definitely feel that.
You can.
You know what I mean?
No, you for sure can. Hey, there we go. This might be the. All right, I'm done. Appreciate y'all. There we go. It's a little to the right, but we got it in the air.
All right. That was the goal. Get it in the air, and then
there we go.
From there, we can make more tweaks to the head and things like that to kind of straighten it out. But obviously, step one, let's get it up in the air. Let's get it going from there.
So what iron is this again?
So that's a 7-iron.
Okay.
How Gen 4 XP. So that more forgiving head. So we'll fit off of a 7-iron because, like we talked about earlier, it's kind of middle of the bag.
Right.
So if you fit off of a pitching wedge or you fit off a 4-iron, you know, some people don't use those clubs. We definitely get a good gauge on length, everything like that. Kind of going off that 7-iron there.
Cool. A little bit higher. Now, why are they all going to the right? Is that, do I need to get my hips more through, or how does?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the biggest miss for someone that's just starting, leaving the club face open.
Okay.
And a lot of times, you know, it's just a lack of turning the body a little bit. So something that could help with that, just kind of narrowing up the stance a little bit.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, if you're super wide,
yeah,
it's kind of harder to turn your body to where if you had your feet together, you can turn almost like an owl.
You know
what I mean, in terms of the head there. So kind of narrow the stance a little bit.
It's like kind of like right here.
Shoulder width.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks good there.
Cool.
So, and something else that could be, part of the issue of that. So let me just steal that club from you real quick. So we can actually adjust the lie angle of the club.
Okay.
What does that mean? That basically we can bend it upright. So basically that toe would be up in the air. We can bend it flatter, kind of depending on what that person needs.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, if your club's coming through and your toe of the club is digging, what's going to happen is
it's going to go outside.
And that very well could be part of the reason. Not going to say it's going to go straight every time,
right?
But we fit for your tendencies. I mean, obviously, right now your tendency being a little bit off to the right, which is totally normal. You can definitely bend a lie angle to kind of help with that. So that's what I'm going to go do next.
Sweet. It's like tailoring everything to my game.
That's right.
Man.
All right, everyone. Thanks for the questions coming in so far. We're going to give Terry a quick break, and we're going to hit up some of your questions, get you guys some answers, and let him grab a second before we change out a couple heads. And you're going to see my fitter running behind me, going to grab a couple different lie angles. But we'll grab some questions from you, and we'll have Terry back in a couple minutes, and we'll keep the fitting going from there. All right, welcome back, guys. Again, my name is Nick Yankee, VP of Sales here for PXG. I've got my man Dustin, who's working with us on the fitter side. Dustin's one of our best fitters down here at headquarters. Appreciate you guys hopping in. Just want to give Terry a break and talk through kind of what we're seeing so far and a number of the questions that are coming up, right? So Terry, obviously phenomenal athlete, but as you're seeing, a beginning golfer, right? We're going to see some really good shots. We're going to see some bad shots. One of the questions that we get coming in, and when we look at some of that, is when should someone get fit? And who's too new to be fit? Does it really help a beginner to get fit? I would personally argue that it helps the beginner even more. You look at someone like Terry, that's a real athlete, right? That's someone that's a taller dude. He's very well built. He's very strong. He's going to pick this up really quickly. And part of the fun part as a fitter is when you come in for a fitting, it's our job to make it fun and easy for your end. But behind the scenes, we're really taking a look at who that person is, how they move physically, how they're going to kind of grow into their game, and getting them ready for equipment that is going to be able to grow with them. And again, for someone like Terry, when you have someone that just is that good of an athlete, understanding that standard isn't going to necessarily work for him. That's
I agree.
A tall man, that's a strong guy, and you need to make sure that what we're getting in his hands is the right thing, so we're setting it up. We all hear stories when we're younger about that you grow up playing with clubs that are cut down, and it's a steel shaft to cut down, you get bad habits, you get the club laid off. What we're trying to do for someone like Terry is really set him up on the right path so that the equipment that he's starting with and learning the game, that he's learning with something that's going to make it not only more enjoyable, but help to develop some good habits.
I agree.
So from your end, just talk through when you look at someone like Terry and you see kind of how he moves, what are you thinking equipment-wise, and what are you taking into consideration for someone like that?
Yeah, exactly. So, number one, he's just getting into the game. So you got to think he's just trying to find his swing right now. So he's probably not swinging as fast right now as he potentially will in the future. So again, like I talked to Terry about, we kind of have that in the back of our minds. Obviously we're going to fit him for what he's doing now, but still something that he can grow into. Obviously he's going to pick up speed. He's a professional athlete, so once he starts finding that consistent contact, he's probably going to start picking up speed a little bit, and like we were talking about earlier, the best part about getting fit is the fact that, whatever we go with in terms of, let's say we go right now, 2 degrees upright is working really well for Terry.
Yep.
Let's say he gets lessons, he starts doing something different. We can always adjust that. We can bring him in, kind of tweak the clubs for him at that point in time. The shaft, things like that shouldn't need to be changed.
Yep.
But, we can always kind of fine tune that golf club for the future. You think back in the day, you got a club and it is what it is. I mean, there was no adjustability, maybe a little bit of lie angle, but in terms of the woods nowadays, specifically, the weighting system, the lie angle, there's so much that we can do to the golf club that, you can fine tune your game in the future. Because we know golf, you could play best round of your life one day, the next day it seems like you're doing the same thing and it's completely different. So that's something where, minor tweaks sometimes need to be made, and, we are able to do that. And we always say, if you don't know what you're doing in terms of adjusting our woods, reach out and we can kind of walk you through it, anything like that. But it's very nice to have the versatility in the club, not only the woods, but our irons as well. So it's definitely nice to have that to work with for sure.
And that's always been one thing I've loved about PXG and that I've enjoyed working here as a fitter is the relationship that we have with our partners and our customers, that it really is an ongoing relationship. We are willing and more happy to do spec checks down the line and make sure that if you are making substantial changes where we need to address that in your equipment, that we're being a good partner and that we're doing that with you. And there's some things as you look, and we'll get into this after, but when you look at the Gen 4 irons, we can do a ton from a weighting classification, from a spec classification, but there's stuff that we can do with the overall swing weight and the head gram weight of this that for someone like Terry, who is really athletic, as we get more to that point refined later, we'll go lighter and heavier and really get him to a point where what does that weight feel like for him and what do we want, that overall feel and takeaway. That's the stuff for when we talk about for a beginning player, to get that right off the bat and to have something that is the right swing weight for you, the right playing weight. You have a shaft that is appropriate to kind of your build and your swing profile, at least how you're loading it. You're just starting them off on such a better footing. And I'd say the question that I get the most here is like, I'm not good enough to get fitted, or comments along the line of, when I get my game ready, I'm going to get there. And you're really doing yourself a disservice and kind of doing it backwards on that point, because you're fighting it and making it a lot more difficult than it has to be. When you have the right tools to begin with, to Terry's point, when he's going to play football, it's got to be the right shoes, the right gloves. You have to have the right fundamentals to get started. And that's where, again, when you come into a fitting, we've seen people be nervous when they come into them. I always tell everyone that I fit, you're not going to be the best player that I've ever seen. You're definitely not going to be the worst player I've ever seen. So you're going to be somewhere in the middle, and that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Have fun. Enjoy it. Take it for what it is. Walk through the process with us. Let us do the hard work on the back end. We're going to make sure that you leave with something that we know is going to help your game and that you're going to be able to grow into. And again, for someone, whether if it's a newer player that's younger, if it's, someone like Terry, who again is super athletic but is new to the game, just being able to put them down the right path and having the right equipment in their hand on day one is going to save them so many problems of not having to come back and make swing adjustments because they were compensating for their equipment in the first place.
Right.
So like I said, Terry's my favorite so far today because, man, that's a good sport. You're talking about a guy who I think to this point, basically his golf experience had been being on Top Golf and really grinding it out at a Top Golf facility. We were having some real conversations about ball position, about attack angle on a driver and things that he's excited to learn, and we're excited to help him and to be part of that. But that's where we're the experts for a reason. We're here to make it a great experience and to work with the player to really understand what they're looking to get out of the game and how we can help them. But we want to make it fun and simple for them when we're doing all the grinding and kind of looking at the data behind. And that's where Dustin really does such a great job, is that he makes it fun and easy, but there's a ton going into it to make sure it's a great experience for that person.
Hey, Nick, we've got a couple of questions here on the difference between the Gen 4 head types. So XP, P, and T. Can you talk through those for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Gen 4, man, I've fit for a long time, and Gen 4 really brings the technology when I'm talking about the weighting and what you can do in that head, where we can go lighter, we can go heavier and really adjust that. If you talk to players, the question over time, and I'll get back to her question, but the neat thing about Gen 4 is when you talk to a player and you're building irons, you get players that say, man, I love irons at D2. It's like, that's great, but have you ever had that shaft, that configuration built to as D0 or D4 to really know that's what you like? We can do so much there. But the thing that PXG has done right since day one, in my opinion, when you look at irons, is that we use the best technology in terms of how we can make a club as forgiving as possible. It's a 5-time forging in the head. We make the head and the face incredibly thin. We use an internal material that gives you a ton of forgiveness and ball speed, but we use the same technology in all 3 irons. So whether it's the T, the P, the XP, Tour Players, Extreme Performance, it's the same technology, it's the same design. We're giving you more forgiveness as you get into, let's say, from you go from the T to the P, there's more offset, it's a little bit longer. And because you're a little bit thicker in the head, you have more internal material, which is going to give you a little bit more speed and more forgiveness as you get heel toe. When you go to the XP, you get even more, that we're getting more offset, more length. It allows us to take what we know is the best designed iron in the world in terms of performance and forgiveness and really cater it to that individual person because of the difference in that offset and the performance. But you're doing it with one technology story. It's not, hey, you're a great player and you get to play a forging. You're a mid-handicap player and you get to play an oversized cast cavity back. We're going to give you something that looks beautiful. And that's the best part of the mission that Mr. Parsons laid out for our company when he started it. Every iron that we made in the 0311 series, one of the mandates from day one is it had to be sexy as hell. And when you look at it from the top line down, even in the XP, which is a really forgiving iron, it's longer heel to toe, it's got offset, it would by definition be somewhat of a game improvement iron. We really take pains to, it's hard to see on camera, but like we trim that back edge, we make it very clean. So when you look down at it, you're not seeing the back cavity. You're seeing a very clean, very polished looking club. So even for a player who needs some game improvement benefits, you're getting the look that that player wants with some extreme performance benefits on the backside.
Okay, I have another question here from Kurt Fisher on YouTube. He said, I have trust issues with getting fit. How can I feel confident I get fit for what I need rather than what the fitter is getting bonuses for selling?
Listen, brother, I have trust issues with a ton of things, I'm sure. But, the benefit of coming to PXG is, ultimately, Dustin is here to do the right thing by you. I'm not trying to get into his business, but when you look at our fitting team, it doesn't make any difference to him what you purchase.
Right.
It actually really doesn't make a difference to him if you purchase anything. We want you to come in and have the right experience. Our goal is that you come in, we answer the questions that you have as a player, and we work with you as a real partner to make sure that what we're recommending for your bag is what's best for your bag. But understand, there's a number of fittings where we will recommend to a player that what they have in their bag is a really good fit for them and it's not the right time for them to change something. Or B, we will recommend what we think it is, but we will always recognize that ultimately that's the player's decision and they need to be comfortable with what's in their bag.
Sure.
That is something when you look at the industry, when you're going to places where there's a bunch of brands there, that is a fair question, right? Which brand is giving an incentive to push business their way? Our only concern here is 2 things. Are we making the best possible golf equipment that we can? And the only question that we answer when we're releasing equipment is this the best possible equipment we can make? And is it notably better than what else exists in the industry? And when we're working with you from player end, the question is simply, is this what's going to be best for your bag and your game? It doesn't make any difference to us as a fitter, as a company on the back end, what you choose to purchase or not. We just want to make sure that if you do choose to put a PXG in your bag, that you're going to love it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, another great question here. So what is the difference in the fitting experience between doing a PXG fitting in a retail location versus out on a golf course?
I don't mean to answer them all, but I've probably done more outside than you have, I guess. So,
yeah.
PXG facilities, man, if you have an opportunity to go to one, it's the best expression of who our brand is. You come in the door, it's always 78 and sunny in here. There's no rain, there's no wind. You're going to have a perfect lie and you're going to have a great time. And, if you've seen pictures and when you see me on the other camera and you see the background, it's beautiful. It's an awesome facility and it's a real investment in making a really neat place for you to come and get fit and have a good time with your game. That being said, we're happy to work with people outside. And we do it all over the country. We have a mobile fitter network that I work with closely that will work with you around the country. We have fitters that will come to every single state in the continental U.S. to fit you at your home facility if that's what we're looking to do. And what was important to us from day one is that when we come to you, we're bringing you the full tour setup. It's a one-on-one experience. It's TrackMan. It's a full matrix. And it's dedicated time to you. It's not a demo day. It's not a demo experience where we're handing you a driver and you're walking on the range. It's personalized, it's custom, and it's every option that we can put in your hands with time that's dedicated just to you. And that doesn't change whether you're in the store at headquarters, in Chicago, in Seattle, at any green grass place around the country. We want it to be a really customized special experience from you from the moment we start fitting you to the moment that your custom built clubs arrive to you, regardless where we fit you.
Love that. Okay. Another question here from Spyzinger about shaft upgrades. Can you talk through our shaft matrix and what is an upgrade versus what's not?
Yeah, so we have basically just talking, kind of irons to start. We have kind of 3 different options. We have one graphite option that comes in different flexes, different weights. We have a couple different steel options also that comes in different flexes, different weights. We kind of always start with those because they're great shafts. And the best way I like to explain it, we want to get you in the best possible shaft because, like we were talking earlier, I mean, as good as our head technology is and everything that we make is unbelievable, you still got to be in the right shaft. So there's times where, the stock shaft will perform well, but we'll try something different, and hey, it could outperform it. So based on where we're getting these shafts and making sure that they are the highest quality of shafts, they're a little bit more expensive. So sometimes a little bit more expensive option will work better, but we're always going to be real with people and tell them, hey, we hit the stock option shaft, we tried something that's not stock option, and they're performing the same. And sometimes that happens, and in that case, hey, why pay more for something that's doing the same thing? But we have a lot of different stock offerings, especially in the woods as well. So, again, we're always going to start with those. We're never going to throw, something super exotic in your hands to start with and say that's the best option. We're always going to kind of go through the process, try different things to see what is going to work because, sometimes, a little bit of an upgrade is going to benefit your game in more ways than one.
For sure. And we've taken a lot of pains with that to make sure that we have options for every player type, every weight category, every flex as you go through. We want there to be a lot of robust options, and that if someone does go to something that's an upcharge, in general, what you find with us is that our cost on that shaft and what you pay for an upcharge is significantly less than the industry average or what that manufacturer would be. But we want to make sure we're getting the best equipment in your hands. And if that means that it's, the leading shaft from Graphite Design or whatever that may be, we want to make sure we give you those options. But I think people would be very pleasantly surprised by the number of things we're going to put in your hand that are going to be killer performance and just part of the club deal, an upcharge.
I agree.
Okay, so Terry's. Want to answer a few more questions?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
We're going to have Terry back in a moment. Just a couple more questions while we're getting that all set up.
Okay, so from Greg Smith.
Yep.
I just got the 0811 driver and I'm considering putting weight in the front for less spin and further distance. Should I increase the loft too?
I tend to try and move one variable at a time, and thanks for the question, Greg. One of the problems when you make changes, if you make multiple at a time and it doesn't go the way you want, you never know which one caused the problem and which one was the solution. So I would suggest that you start with moving the weight and really see what that does for the ball flight first and for spin rates. And we're happy to help you with that through spec checks if that's something you'd like us to participate in. But I would definitely get data on one element first. And from there, if you find that the spin rate went down, but you're still not seeing it in the launch window you want, then I would look at making some hosel adjustments to get it through the launch window you want.
Perfect. And now just time for one more question, I think.
Yep.
So can you chat through the difference in the lofts in with our Gen 4 irons from our Gen 3 irons? We've changed the lofts a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so really actually a minor tweak going from Gen 3 to Gen 4. Honestly, the change, if anything, was really in the P series. It went 1 degree stronger. So when you look, I know industry is normally 7 iron. I always go off pitching wedge on stuff. But basically when you go from the Tour to the P to the XP, it's pretty even now that you're 2 degrees, 2 degrees, 2 degrees when you go through the 7s iron. And the reason that we made that change was twofold. Number one, we're using a different material. Sorry about that. We have a different internal material on the Gen 4 iron, so it launches a little bit different. We wanted to make sure that it was coming out through the right window in the P series. But the biggest thing was that we would see consistency if we wanted to do combo sets. That is, we had inconsistencies in the loft between some of the sets in Gen 3 that it makes it easier in Gen 4 for us to be able to mix and match them. But I think you're going to like what you see with the windows they're coming out in. So we're going to kick her back over to Terry and Dustin. Thanks again for all the questions. Keep them coming, and let's let them get back to it.
We left off here. Only one minor adjustment here. We just bent that angle up in the air a little bit for us. So we kind of talked about turning a little bit more here. So we'll kind of see what the ball height looks like with this. Hopefully we'll straighten out that shot. We'll keep the right height. So we'll try to straighten it out here.
All right, cool. You told me you try to finish a little bit more through.
Exactly, just turning a little bit better. And one thing we always say, we're never, obviously for you, you're still trying to find your swing, but we get people in here that, we don't ever want to change someone's swings, little minor tweaks, ball position. We'll always, try to help. The biggest thing is, we're fitting people for their swings. We want the golf club to fit that person's swing. We don't want the swing to fit into a golf club. And that's what most people are doing. They get clubs off the rack. They just make it work. And custom club fitting is all about not making it work. We want this thing to work for you the way you swing the ball. Obviously, we're going to try to, improve everything, but it's still got to feel good. It's going to perform good based on what feels good and what's going to work for you versus, just picking it up and making it work. So,
and one question I kind of have for somebody who's just starting like me, how do you kind of find that sweet spot? What's your swing and how you feel comfortable?
Yeah, and obviously repetitions. I mean, that's the biggest thing, just like anything. I mean, the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get. And, you'll start finding, once you start hitting it more solid, there'll be minor tweaks that you'll have to make. There's no doubt about that. It's a very tough game, but just repetitions. I mean, it's tough to be consistent if you're not doing it a lot. Just like football, if you took a month off, you get back, try to do the same workouts that you're doing, it's going to be tough, right?
For sure.
So you got to get those repetitions in. So let's give this a go here. Nice. All right.
That one got to the right. I heard a little.
So that was a little overcompensation, but that's what I always say. I'd rather see that because you made an adjustment. If everything was going right, you're kind of doing the same thing. And in golf, if you're making changes, it needs to feel a little weird. So that you made a change, and that's what I always say. Now it's a matter of finding a happy medium. So you're close. That was just kind of overcompensating. Got the club face a little too close. But again, that you did something correct there. It's just a matter of finding that sweet spot and getting the timing of it. There you go. And the more you start turning, like we talked about, you're going to actually develop more speed with your swing without necessarily trying. And we talked earlier about not trying to kill the ball, kind of let the club do the work because I promise you, they will do the work. But it's just a matter of, getting that turn and just trusting it. So go ahead and hit one more there, and then I'm going to actually adjust that head weight for you to kind of give you some different feel there, because sometimes a little bit lighter kind of works better for people. Sometimes a little bit heavier, and we'll kind of see what's going to feel a little bit better to you. Closer. Let's change one thing here.
You get this ball up in the air.
Well,
we're going to get there, though.
We're going to get there. So basically, you can see this single weight in here. So our standard weight is 8 grams. So we can go in 2 gram increments. We can go all the way up to 12, or we can go all the way down to 4. Well, what does that mean? So basically, thinking about it in terms of putting the heavier weight in there, that's going to give you a little bit more head feel. I personally love the heavy weight. Why? I enjoy a heavier club. The next person might like the lighter weight. So we're going to kind of go from one end of the spectrum to the other, and then we can always fine tune it from there. So we're going to start with that heavier weight one, and then see how that feels.
How do you know when you found the right club for yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there's going to be good, there's going to be bad with everything that we do.
Yeah.
That's why we look at the averages. You know, we don't want to go off of, hey, you hit one shot good with this.
Right.
You know, this is the right one. You know, we're going to kind of look at the consistency of it, as well as, you know, obviously the numbers are very, very important.
Right.
But getting that club that feels just right for you is a big component. And then obviously the minor tweaks from there to kind of help what your miss is. And obviously we kind of talked about it being, you know, a little bit to the right there. But this is the 12-gram weight, so it's going to feel, if you take a couple practice swings with it, it's going to feel a little bit heavier to you in the head, which, again, we'll kind of see if that's going to work any better for you. I feel a good one coming.
I feel it too.
Yeah, buddy.
It's coming.
That was closer.
That was better.
Yep.
That was better.
For sure. And that's, you know, that's the biggest thing with beginners. Again, what we say is, you know, I would say you pick up a golf club, there's a 95% chance that's going to be your miss, is just opening the face. Not many people pick up a golf club and hit a big high draw like Tiger Woods. That's just, occasionally it happens, but more times than not, it's definitely a matter of leaving that face open. But again, we talked about you just trying to find your swing, and you start turning more, you're definitely going to square up that face.
Cool.
So narrow the stance. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, that's better. That'll be a little easier to turn.
Straighter.
Yep. It's got a little behind it there.
What does behind it mean?
Yeah, so you basically just bottomed out a little behind it. We talked about you hitting down on it. So you hit down on it, but you hit just a little bit behind it. So you kind of bottomed out too early because, you know, again, we talked about, you know, the tour players, and, you know, a good player, a good ball striker is going to hit ball first and then usually a divot in front. So that's you hitting down on it, but obviously hitting ball first is, you know, definitely where you're going to get that best performing shot.
How do you help that? By keeping your head down through the shot?
So if you have a lot of body movement, you know, things like that, that's basically moving your low point, meaning, you know, you want to keep as still as possible while still being able to rotate. Now, you know, your head's going to move a little bit, but obviously a little less head movement is better because that's where the consistency is going to come in. Really just focus on, you know, when you're taking a practice swing, focus on, you know, that one spot. And obviously when you're over the ball, just focus on one dimple, or just, you know, really focusing. Yeah. Because it aim small, miss small.
What in the world I was looking at.
Aim small, miss small.
What in the world I was looking at. I see him on TV practicing, so I'm like, all right, might as well practice.
I'll just swing it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just little stuff like that. It's a very mental game. So, you know, if you can get little tidbits like that to kind of help you, that's why we're here. Nice.
Hey, how we doing? One of the questions that we're getting quite a bit is what shaft he's using at the moment. We've got him in KBS TGI, which is a very interesting shaft. Lightweight graphite, but very stable. So for someone like him that is very athletic, but at the moment we want to get more of that weight proportionally into the head. It allows us to give him really nice feel, but also something that's really stable. Really, really nice shaft.
Got over to the right.
Can you feel that weight difference in the head versus the other one?
I do.
How does that feel comparative to that? Is it good, bad, not sure?
I kind of like the other one more because it felt like it was a little bit more free.
Yeah.
I'm trying to feel out my swing and feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I could feel a little bit more of the weight, so it feels a little bit more. I got to kind of
work for it, right?
Yeah, work for it.
And that's what we always say. You know, when you're talking weight, whether it be shaft, whether it be head, we don't want you to have to labor for it. Meaning, you know, because especially you think about it over 18 holes. You know, it might be good on the front 9, but it might be like, man, I'm tired.
Right.
Because then you're going to make a bad swing.
Exactly.
So we want to get you in the right weight where it feels comfortable. It just feels easy. So that being said, 12 grams probably a little bit too much for us. So let's try the other end of the spectrum, go a little lighter. Maybe that'll just be kind of whipping that club through a little easier.
Sweet.
Hey, just hopping in for a second. As Dustin's changing out some weights, just want to comment on kind of what he's doing there. We talked earlier about with the Gen 4, one of the really neat things that's new to the industry about that iron is we can go really heavy or really light in the weight in the back, right? And the goal isn't always that we're going to get that right on the first thing, but we want you, when you're going through a fitting, to experience both ends of the spectrum. So Dustin had him go into something that's pretty heavy so he could get a feel for what that is, and we're going to go to the other direction of that. But you kind of want to put someone on both ends of the teeter-totter to let them have a preference in where they feel the weight in the club and what their personal preferences in terms of the overall club weight. So that's why you see kind of the ends of it, and they'll have a conversation about what he likes. But that's the cool part about Gen 4 is that you really can customize that in a way that not only have we never been able to do, but really the golf industry has never been able to do in the past.
Obviously, the feedback you're providing me is huge, because when you're talking golf clubs, feel is a huge part of golf. And that aspect of it, I don't know, because obviously I'm not the one swinging the club. So that's why we always ask, like, hey, how does this feel? Does it feel good, bad? And if you're not sure, that's not a bad thing, because it's some people can feel it different, some people can't. But any feedback you have, we definitely like that, because it helps me and it's going to help you.
Cool.
Make the right adjustments for sure. There you go.
Anybody at home watching got any tips for me? I'm open to all feedback.
Yeah.
All feedback.
Give me one more with that. I'm going to make a little different adjustment.
Okay. Okay, I'm starting to feel it a little bit more.
I'm just going to go back to that standard lie angle. And, part of this process is testing stuff out. I mean, for what might not work for someone else. So we're going to go back to the standard head here. So in terms of the lie angle, we talked about it going upright earlier. I think you're actually kind of digging the heel of the club now. So we're going to go back to that and kind of see if that brings back any consistencies.
So how do you find that middle? Is it the way I'm holding it? Is it?
Yeah. So let me show you one thing here. So basically, when you're talking lie angle, a lot of people think it is what it looks like at address. Meaning, if you look down at this club, let's say I had my hands super low.
A lot of you guys are reading my mind out there. So again, keep in mind, please, with this Terry's name.
Well, you got to go flatter with
handicap, and I'm not trying to do great if I was watching this on live stream right now. But one of the things a lot of comments forget is to have him open up his front foot to help him get through a little bit. I'm gonna hop in a second and get him that. But again, you get someone that's so athletic like this, and it's just getting them to learn to rotate. From our end, we can get the right weight, we can get all that, and we'll work with them on the other stuff. But yeah, point taken. I see some comments there on the front foot and get them through it. We'll work on that one in a second for you.
So we're just trying to get you, kind of fine-tuned in terms of what's going to get that club coming through the turf as clean as possible. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Move that over just a little bit.
So Terry, you're getting the world's largest golf lesson right now, because I get to see our live stream on Instagram.
Yeah.
And one thing that they commented on that I would as well. So what Dustin's having you been work on, you're so athletic, right? The big part of the move is let your big muscles do the work and really get rotated through it. I would just love to see with the front foot, just get your front foot opened up a little bit.
Okay.
Think about like a baseball player. I mean, you watch like Griffey back in the day, right? That front foot was a little open with the toe open. Just lets them get their hips out of the way.
Okay.
Cool. Griffey's kind of the perfect example, right?
So kind of like still shoulder width, but kind of have this one a little open a little bit more.
Flare that a little.
Yeah.
Okay. That lets you get to your left side a little easier.
Okay. A little less stress on your knees as well.
Instead of kind of being.
I mean, so when you were in high school, were you DB?
No, I played receiver, but I played a little bit of DB.
It's no different, right? When you're getting a set, you got the toes open, so you can athletically go other direction.
Okay.
Same theory.
Okay.
Right? We just want to put you in a position where you can get through it.
Yep. Nice.
A little bit more open. No, I feel like I came up on
Little
that
lost.
foot.
Yeah, lost your balance a little bit there. It's all right. A little better. Left the face open.
So leaving the face open, does that mean I'm coming through kind of like?
Yeah, you're
like
coming
that?
through with the face open versus kind of getting your arms rotated through and getting it, like that one that you were hitting left. Remember that one you kind of pulled to the left? That one you rotated well. It was just too much. So again, it golf's a lot about timing.
Yeah.
And you could be a fraction off by and it's going to look a lot worse than you would anticipate. If you leave the face 2 degrees open, which doesn't sound like a lot, that could lead to 20 yards right. So it's that's why this game is frustrating, because you could be making a good swing and just be a little off, and it produces a not so great shot. But
There we go. Finally. Appreciate you guys for staying with me. We finally got one. It's a little to the right.
That's all right. Better contact.
We're getting there.
They're wondering why you're willing to put yourself through this today.
Well, being the kind of person I am, I'm always looking for a new challenge. So whether it's in the off season where I'm trying to gain a better edge for my game going into the next season, I also look for other challenges, the way I could challenge my body, challenge my mind, and just look for other things I can do to improve myself. I've kind of fallen in love with golf so far, just the challenge mentally that it takes, but also probably that feeling once you finally start executing those things that you've been working on is probably what I get the most pride out of. So working on something that's challenging, that's uncomfortable, but the feeling you get once you start to master that stuff, you can't put a price on it. So that's kind of why I'm just out here. No lessons, no nothing, just out here.
Yeah, I like it.
Did you feel in the last one you got done, there's an expression in golf of like get your belt buckle to the target? Did you feel at the end?
I did. I think the thing I'm having is trying to find that comfortability with my feet, and having that twerk enough to where I could get all the way through. Because I felt what you were saying, when my foot is kind of more straight, I can't your body just naturally can't quite get there.
Right.
So it's finding that where you're getting enough power to load right here, but to finish through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without not doing too much with that front foot.
One thing I see a lot, particularly with athletic beginners like yourself, right? If you take the club and pick it up, so it's pointed out like it's a baseball bat. So swing it like it's a baseball bat once. Right?
Yeah.
Like swing full through. Okay. Get through that.
Yeah.
Same motion, right? Feel like the big muscles turning that, the big muscles turning the leg. It's the same thing. So you'll see players at times take practice swings where they'll hold the club upright and take a full swing, and then and it's the same motion. You're just bending over. Right. So think of the big muscles you'd use in a baseball swing. Same thing. Don't feel like you need to have perfect hands or anything.
Okay.
Just big muscles turning.
Okay.
And let your body go through it.
Like that.
I like it too.
Okay, I feel that.
Yeah. Nice.
I feel that kind of with that foot. It's kind of like
look at a little draw on that one, baby.
All right, what's a draw? What's
so
a draw?
That's a right to left shot.
Oh, okay. All right,
it started straight. You actually had the club face a little bit closed, which created some side spin on the ball, giving it a little bit of a draw. And then the other ones we would consider a fade or a slice. We'll use the power fade. Yeah. It was a power fade. But yeah, no, that was way better. So how do you this is way above where I'm at right now, but what makes the ball fade like that? Like we talked about, you leave the face open.
Okay.
And then, it's just the way you're coming into the ball. If you come across the ball with an open face, that's going to create left to right spin.
Okay.
If you come from the inside and shut the face, that's going to create the other side of spin. So that's where, the tour players, depending on what type of shot they're going to hit, they might move their ball position a little bit. They might do something a little bit different in their swing in order to get it curving one way or the other.
Okay.
Now, obviously for you, just kind of getting solid contact right off the bat, and that's something I guarantee down the road you'll be able to do. It's just trying to establish, the groundwork, basically, trying to get comfortable and really turning well. Because obviously that last one you turned really, really well through, and it produced a way better shot.
Don't be afraid to just kind of grind that in, that kind of the full, more I'll call it the baseball swing for you, but just like honestly, just watching from mine, that is, you're just such an athletic guy. The more that we can get your whole body working on it. It's not, the weird thing about golf is everyone always thinks it's played with your hands, and it really isn't. It's played with your body, and your hands kind of follow. So the more that you can feel it, they'll talk about the triangle, right? But the more you feel it in here, and it's just your whole body rotating together, which the best example is baseball. Think about, like, you have that mental image of a guy just throwing a home run, and it's just very together. Same thing.
Same, all one motion.
We make it a lot harder than that because cameras are dumb, but it doesn't need to be.
Okay. Definitely feel that more.
Definitely hitting it a little cleaner.
Yeah. This is probably like the best
feeling setup so far.
Yeah.
So give me one more with that, and then so basically that first setup we tried, I would say, is kind of a middle weight class, and just in terms of shaft, that is the lighter end of the spectrum. And I want to try one that's even heavier. So we'll keep that same head weight, but we'll go a little bit heavier in the shaft just to kind of see what that feels like. And again, we don't want it to feel like you're laboring for it. But once we kind of find what's feeling good, what's not, we can kind of fine tune it from there, because there usually is a sweet spot. Because we have a lot of different shafts and a lot of different weights, and you know, they all kind of do a little something different. So give me one more with that.
And now I'm kind of starting to feel like I could feel like that didn't necessarily feel good. When I get it through, it feels so much more natural in one motion.
Well, it's basically just getting everything to work in sequence. Because if you're not, it's almost like your body's fighting each other. You know what I mean? So if your hands are ahead of your body, and then it just kind of feels a little awkward. But when you get it all kind of working, like Nick was saying, like that baseball swing, you get it all working, and you can feel a difference for sure. That's all right. Let me put that heavier weight in there.
It's cool trying to find what works and everything like that.
For sure.
Definitely feeling it when it does feel good and when you don't. That's the biggest thing. Like, you know, when you're running a route or you're coming out of a route, it's like, that didn't quite feel good. I need to do this, that, and the other thing. So now it's just finding what that is for golf.
Exactly.
In my game.
Yeah, and there's a lot of moving parts in golf. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a lot of things that feel good, and you know, a lot of things that don't feel good. But again, trying to find that consistency in what does feel good and what's going to work. Again, it comes down to those repetitions. You know, I always say it's a game. You get out of it what you put into it. No one picks up a golf club and can go shoot even par at never playing golf before. So you put work into it. You know, you obviously you will. You know, because you're going to develop such a love for the game even more than you have now. Because the more, let's say you go play and you have 5 good shots, the next time you might have 6 good shots. And the more you play, you might have more good shots, and that's going to bring you back. You know what I mean? It really will.
So somebody like me that's just starting, and I'm going out to like just like a course, not a course, but just like a driving range. What club is the best club that I need to really just work on to kind of help get all that?
So I would say, you know, in terms of consistency, shorter clubs are going to be easier. So if you just go, everyone goes to driving range, just hits driver. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. you hit it far. But, you know, that's definitely an important club. But, you know, shorter clubs, your wedges, or you can get more consistency, a little bit more confidence. Then you kind of work yourself up. I usually start with, you know, a few wedges, and then I hit some 7-irons. Then you can go into the longer clubs. But everyone's different. But I would say, you know, kind of starting small, kind of hitting some 50-yard shots, and then kind of working your way up is definitely what I would recommend in that. And you can kind of see what works for you. I mean, there's guys out there that start with driver, but that's also, you better be doing your stretching, because you might pull something if you go out there swinging as hard as you can right off the bat. So this is a 120-gram shaft. So this is quite a bit different than the last one in terms of the weight. So we'll kind of see if that feels any better towards you. There you go.
little bit in the air.
Yeah, I mean, your consistency of the strike is now getting better.
Yeah.
It's just where that face is pointed. Again,
Okay.
we keep saying timing, and it's
Yeah.
developing that feel of how to swing the club is important. But the face angle and the timing of everything will come with just playing a little bit more.
So, question for you, Terry.
Yeah.
So we went to some different shafts there, right? Did you notice a difference when you went to this shaft versus the one you were hitting before that?
I did. So a few of them, like, I don't know all the terms specifically, but like a few of them felt a little heavier. So it felt like I had to really grip it and like muscle it through to kind of get where I wanted to hit it in the right spot. But the ones that are lighter and more easy flowing for me right now, it's just because I'm trying to find my swing. So these lighter ones and the ones that just allow me to get easier contact have been helping me a lot. Just mentally, okay, now I'm striking the ball better, but now it's like, okay, now I'm thinking about my trunk and so many things running through my head. But definitely, I like the lighter feel because it just allows me to kind of just feel more free with the club.
So, in your opinion, is this lighter or heavier?
I mean, it feels just right. I don't know.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, this one feels just right, really.
Well, sorry, you go ahead.
The difference and the interesting thing, and when we get questions about beginning fitting and for beginning players, the interesting thing is like this is heavier, but to a lot of players it'll feel lighter because it's where is the club in there, right? Or where is the weight proportionally in the club? And that's when we talk about for beginners, so much of when we go down how do we get you on the right path in the long run, that it's going to be something where you can feel where the club is in your swing, you've got good awareness of it and weight of it. That's where when Dustin's walking through, and honestly, if you don't mind, can you just walk through like what you had him hit shaft-wise?
Yeah.
Kind of where you would like him from a weight.
Yeah, what do you
For sure. So we started with our Elevate 95, which I would say in the grand scheme of things is pretty central in terms of the weight. Then we went to the TGI 80, which is a graphite shaft, a little bit lighter. So obviously that felt better, especially with that lighter head weight. And just like he was kind of saying, you go heavier, sometimes it can actually feel lighter. And why is that? Because it's a little bit more balanced. So if you think about it, if we go a super lightweight shaft, all the weight's going to be in the head. Some players like a little bit more head weight because it feels like, okay, I can actually feel the club head in the back. For me, for example, I enjoy a very heavy club that just kind of feels balanced through. And that's why we try different things like that. And I didn't give you a heavier shaft because, he's going to not like this at all. Like I gave it to you because we haven't tried something that heavy. And I was just curious because sometimes I do give players a club that's like, hey, how's that feel? Oh, it's way lighter. It's actually heavier.
Really?
Because it's more balanced.
That's crazy.
So and
I think that's what it is because I think one of them, this felt the whole club was heavy. You know what I mean? Even though it's not that big of a club, the whole thing felt heavy. Whereas this one, you could kind of feel it more right here, but it feels like you kind of have more control with this part.
Exactly.
And that's where, when we get beginner players, a lot of times the question is, am I good enough to be fitted? Do I know enough to be fitted? The thing I always tell them as a fitter is like, trust your gut instinct. You're going to know what feels good. Like if that weight classification feels better to you, and only you can know that. We both fit comical amount of people in our lives. I can make an educated guess before you come in, but you're going to know when you get the right weight in your hands. It's like when we change the weight in the back of the head that know one, it's like, okay, that just felt better to me. And that it starts to line up. Our job is to put things in your hand to allow you to have an opinion on those and then work through that with you.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And make that decision.
Absolutely.
Appreciate this end of it. I heard. So, have you ever hit a driver?
I've hit a driver before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you down the game one?
Oh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is great. That's what I've been looking for.
The big dog, man.
Yeah.
So again, appreciate the attitude, man. Like you're one of my favorite people in the world now.
Appreciate it.
I love how you roll with it. Put together a Gen 4. This is an XF, which is the most forgiving head that we make in this. Gave you a shaft that kind of mirrors actually what you're hitting there. A little bit heavier, a little more stout, so I think you'll feel where the weight is. But you just want to have some fun with it, let you hit a couple. And that
sounds good. I'll swap you out here. Let me grab you a couple tees.
Ooh, this feels light.
Yeah, so good point. A lot of people, they'll say, hey, are you going to put the same shaft that we went in the irons and the driver? So, because a driver is a lot longer, you're going to typically go lighter with it. So your heavier clubs will be your putter, wedges, irons, and kind of as you work your way up, it's going to get lighter because, if I gave you a 120-gram driver shaft, it would feel like a sledgehammer. And it'd be very hard to swing. So lighter is definitely a trend, and that doesn't mean that we couldn't go heavier than that if need be, but definitely it's going to be a lot lighter than the iron.
Cool. So give me a rundown, like how you set the tee and all that stuff.
Yeah, so typically, let me just steal it for a second. So typically, and it depends on the person, kind of how you're coming into the ball. But we usually say about a half of a ball above the driver head.
All right.
Because on the driver heads nowadays, I mean, if you If you hit it a little bit high on the face, that's typically going to be a little bit better than lower because the ball is definitely going to come out a little bit higher with less spin. What does that mean? Basically, backspin on the ball, every shot you hit has backspin. With driver, to get really far distance, you have to launch the ball high with less spin.
Okay.
So in terms of teeing it up, that's why we say a little bit above it. I mean, if you're a little bit shorter than that, that's fine. But we'll kind of start there, and if we need to go shorter, we can.
Okay.
But like we said earlier, you know, with the irons, you're a little bit more in the middle of your stance. Yep. So with driver, we want to catch it more on the upswing now. So we're not doing that, you know, turf like we were before. So we're catching it more on the upswing. So we're going to play it a little bit more off that front foot.
Okay.
So kind of off your big left toe in terms of where to, yep, that looks good there.
And again, take just a couple practice swings
For
me
sure.
where it's more like kind of the upright baseball swing. Because I want you to get used to feeling the length of that, right?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Longer, and it's more, this really is kind of home run ball.
Yeah.
Love it. You're behind it. Let your body stay behind it.
Yeah, really good rotation.
Yeah. Just think Ken Griffey.
Okay.
Right?
You got to do the finish, too.
That's true.
You got to flip it and all
Yeah.
that.
Throw the driver. And
Yeah.
So before you hit this, I just want to say, so the biggest thing with the drivers nowadays, so if you just go ahead and line it up there, so a lot of people, we've seen what your miss is a little bit to the right. What a lot of people are going to do, they're going to close the face like this to try to manipulate that. But the biggest thing you want to do is let that driver head sit flush on the ground.
Okay.
Why is that? Basically, we can adjust this head to be a little bit draw bias. What does that mean? Basically, we can actually close the club face a little bit for you to help with that. But if you manipulate the face at all at address, you're not really allowing the club to utilize those adjustments. So that's why we always say, let it, you know, lay flush right there and then kind of trust it. And obviously, if it's not the right ball flight we want to see, that's where we make the tweaks to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you know when you've hit it well? Like,
oh, you'll feel it. You'll feel it. Oh yeah, you'll feel it.
That didn't feel right.
That ain't no top golf. That ain't no top golf driver.
Heck no.
I can tell you that. You'll feel it once you hit it.
Oh.
Here, let me get a little bit lower tee.
4.
Yeah, let me grab it a little lower tee here. Trust me, that happens all the time. So what that was basically you getting very steep on it, meaning that was kind of an iron swing. So you hit down on it, and what happens, let me see. So when you hit down on a driver, what happens is the first thing that gets to the ball is the crown of the club. So that's what just pops the ball up.
All right.
Versus, you know, hitting more on the upswing, you're utilizing a little bit more of the face there.
So when you're trying to swing a driver, what's the main thing you're thinking of? Like, I remember you said the iron, you're kind of trying to
hit down. Yeah, so the thing, like we talked about, we want to hit up on it. So the easiest thing is kind of just tilting your shoulders a little bit upward, so the other way. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Front shoulder, and everything else remains the same.
Okay.
Just kind of feel like that you're kind of training yourself to swing more on the upswing.
I see what you're saying.
There you go. Looks good. Closer. Probably gonna end up pretty straight. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
There we go. And to be honest, like what I thought about before that shot, don't try to kill it. You know what I mean? Just easy swing.
Exactly. Because I'm telling you, with how good the balls are and how good these clubs are, the ball will go. When you make contact, I mean, it doesn't feel like you're swinging that hard, but you're going to be able to generate speed effortlessly. So that's why you just let the club do the work, and it will perform. I can guarantee you that. Because you try to overpower it, what's going to happen is you're actually going to, more times than not, you're going to hit it off the center of the face. So, you know, you can see these scoring lines here. So You know, if you hit it right in the dead center of the face, that's where you're going to get the most distance there. So you start swinging harder, might hit it over here, might hit it over here, kind of all over the place. You're not going to be getting as much distance. So
Makes
kind
sense.
of, again, allowing that club to do the work is very, very important.
Makes sense.
So that was awesome.
Made my best one.
A little closed face, but it's all right.
Good.
There you go.
That felt better.
Yep. Nice.
I'm noticing when I just try to just swing it so much easier and not try to
right.
it goes like
And that's
so
the
much
thing.
better.
Like, I've been working on my game, just trying to slow everything down, and it feels like I'm not swinging as hard. It feels like I have a shorter swing, and I actually hit it further,
right?
Because I'm hitting it more square in the face,
Right.
and that's why. I mean, that's night and day different there.
It is.
That's awesome.
Gotta try to keep that in mind. 'Cause I think everything in my sport, like football, everything is like, and golf is very powerful too. Like it takes a lot of momentum, but everything with mine is sudden and it's really strong and powerful. And this is the same way, but it's all trying to get it to work in one motion
For sure.
and letting the club do the work.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that last one you hit 232. I mean, that's
shoot.
Yeah, and that's only
pretty cool.
obviously going to get better with the more you do it. I mean, that's the one before that you hit pretty good. I mean, your launch angle and spin. So those are the numbers that we're looking at to really optimize and say, hey, is that the right shaft? Is that the right loft? So that's a 10.5 degree of loft. So we have different heads. Like for me, I hit it super, super high. So I need a lower lofted driver. So I don't hit it as high. So for you, 10.5 degrees looks really good because the launch angle looks pretty good. Backspin's a little bit high, so that's where we would make a little adjustment in terms of maybe making it a lower launching profile. So like if you look at the weighting system on the bottom here, so we can kind of manipulate the weight. So this one here, you can kind of see it's got black paint fill in there. So that's basically a 12.5 gram weight. So depending on where we put that, and we can actually add more weight in more spots, but basically putting more weight forward is going to lower the launch and the spin. So we could actually probably put a little bit more weight in the heel too, because that's kind of a draw bias. So that's where, you know, that was a good shot, but you can kind of see it was a little bit off to the right. So let me just add a little bit more weight here in the heel, kind of see if that helps you straighten her out a little bit.
Pretty fun job. You guys get to interact with people and see which glove fits
Oh yeah,
best.
man. Best job I ever had. No doubt about it.
That's dope.
And the fun part for that is, like what he's changing right now is great because we can get you set up in the right spot. But that club, because of the level of adjustability, not only that we can do through the nozzle, we can talk about over and close space, but change that weight and really grow it. Player, right? So as you get used to it, you start to see if the ball flights high, low. We can do so much to change you with that. It just, particularly when it comes to the woods and this driver in particular, it's insane how much we can do to customize that.
Sweet.
But that you can continue to do that. And we're happy to help you with that down the road.
Great.
Yep.
That's the thing. Not only do you get him today, you get him like for life.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
You'll have my business card. It's a poker chip. So when you're draining putts, you're like, oh, I remember him. You got me fine tuned.
That's dope.
So this is a little bit more draw by. So I put a little bit more weight in the heel, and I also made an adjustment on the hosel. I went up a degree, which basically gets it to a little bit higher loft at 11.5, but it also turns the face in just a touch. So again, we're just trying to make that shot right there go a little bit straighter for you.
Okay.
Hopefully get a little more distance as well, but we're just trying to kind of straighten out that ball flight right now.
But don't feel like you have to do anything different.
Yep.
Let
Yeah,
the ball do the work.
exactly.
Just take the same full smooth swing.
Yep. Just trust that the adjustment will do its job. Boom.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So the club face just came through a little bit more square there.
Yeah.
Dead straight shot.
Yeah.
Again, the one before that was good, but
Yeah.
if we're going to get the same distance, I'm taking that one over
That's
the other
cool.
one all day. That's
All
just
day.
one little minor tweak that made a big,
That's
big
so
difference
crazy.
there.
And like the biggest thing I'm continuing to think about is getting that more through, which I'm feeling like the baseball analogy really kind of helped me. I played a little baseball growing up, and then just not trying to kill it as much. You know what I mean? Just kind of just letting the club do the work. So,
well,
sweet.
I learned at a young age, you always end on a good one, so I'm going to leave it right there.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah.
My question for you. So
Yeah.
You've never been fit before you come to this. Thank you again for being such a good sport.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Really
doing this.
great.
Absolutely.
So what did you expect coming into this fitting to be like?
Yeah.
How does this match up to maybe what you expected or
Yeah.
differences?
I didn't know there were so many technicalities in what can adjust your shot and the mechanics that go behind it, and just the little adjustments that make all the difference. And just for an athlete like me and athletes across the world, I feel like when you could kind of start visualizing things and it starts making sense to what the technology says, I think that really helps an athlete continue to grow and become a better athlete when they can really just, take the mental part of the game and then transition to my foot, and now it's my hips, and now it's, you take this great technology and you match it all together, and then you see stuff like that where I couldn't get one off the ground. I know this is a driver, but just that little adjustment helped me get straight. So that was really cool.
No, it's great. And that ultimately your goal is to be here and work on your side, and you let us do the work behind it.
For sure.
That we're here to support you, and that it is easy. I know one of the things we always hear is when it's intimidating to come get a team, and hopefully, if nothing else, you take away that
Most definitely.
it isn't and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
We're here to have a good time.
Right.
Kind of joke around a
Most
little bit,
definitely.
make it an easy deal for you. But
And I think you guys just did a great job, because I'm somebody who always wants that feedback. And I think the more you're going to get out of a fitting is the more feedback you're looking into. You're not necessarily so worried about being perfect, and you're just trying to learn, and you're trying to grow, and you're trying to take the feedback and adjust shot by shot. And when you do that, I think you get the results. Now I'm walking off, feeling good about myself, versus coming in with an open mind, not knowing what to get out of it. And now just listening to you guys and then trying to adjust as I go, you get what you get. So
love it. Well,
sweet.
Thank you to everyone at home. Sincerely appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to Dustin.
My pleasure.
So much,
Appreciate you guys.
being the guinea pig.
Thank you so much.
Really,
appreciate you guys.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
so
Thanks,
much.
brother.
I appreciate it.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.